What's up, good people? It's your boy C. Witt from Boys to Gentlemen, and this is another episode of my journey to healing from sexual assault. I'm absolutely ecstatic. For the first time, I have my first guest for the show. For those of you who are not familiar with it, I'm speaking on my own personal journey that it took from me acknowledging and really beginning the healing process for sexual assault. I would have loved to have had this resource when I was far younger. Unfortunately, I didn't, but at the same time, I'm super grateful to be able to introduce Miss Esmeralda and Michelle. I'm gonna let them give you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll go into the interview. But I'm super ecstatic to have these two wonderful powerhouse young ladies to speak to the power of advocacy and all the different things that Emerald of the Sea offers. I'm grateful for the partnerships. I'll start off with you, Miss Esmeralda. Please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm super happy to be here. Thank you, Chris, for sharing your platform and for being an amazing person all around. We appreciate all your hard work, what you do privately and publicly. And well, my name is Esmeralda Ridilla. I am the founder and director of Emerald of the Sea. We are a faith-based nonprofit that provides sexual trauma recovery and prevention. And this is Michelle joining me, and she's going to introduce a little bit about herself too.
Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Hatton, and I am an advocate for Emerald of the Sea. I have been a part of this organization for 1.5 years now, and this has been a life-changing experience. I am so ecstatic to be able to speak on this, speak and share Chris's platform today, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share my journey to healing.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank y'all so much again for being on. Y'all are the very first guest for this particular series that we're working on, so I'm super excited for that. Now, I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to actually do some events with y'all, the workshops and things of that nature, but I wanted y'all to be able to express it in your own words. What exactly is Emerald of the Sea? I know you said a nonprofit and an organization, but really break down for somebody who might be interested, what is Emerald of the Sea?
So our main program, which is the heartbeat of our ministry, our nonprofit, is our Emerald Journey program. This is a 3-year recovery program that we started for female survivors of sexual assault from the age of the abuse could have happened any point of their lives, but they have to be 18 or older to be part of this program particularly. And it's 3 years because we go through so many different aspects of the healing journey. From making the decision to shatter the silence and to speak what actually happened in a safe environment. So we are made up of small groups that are completely confidential. And right now we have 20 ladies in that program, a few of them being online participants as well. We offer the same program, just as interactive, just as effective online, to be able to reach people who probably don't live in Abilene and could use our resource. So we cover from shattering the silence of childhood sexual abuse to learning your triggers, identifying red flags, rebuilding relational skills, learning to set healthy boundaries in your relationships are just like one of the few topics of the many topics that we offer as we go together in a group. And it's just amazing to be able to go through that experience with people who have experienced similar things. And when we say sexual trauma, this is beneficial for anyone who has gone through rape, through abuse, child abuse, sex trafficking, abduction, and even sexual addiction. So I hope that answers. Do you have more questions about that?
No, I didn't have any more questions. That really broadened the horizons, because sometimes, we get a little general. So definitely love those specifics. Michelle, did you have anything to add?
At this point, I really just want to say how this organization is something much needed in our community, and I think the communities around us. It is hard. It's a tough topic to speak on, but in general, this is something that happens in a lot of households today, and it's used as the hush-hush secret, something we don't share, something we don't talk about. And in fact, affects that person throughout their entire life, yet whether you speak on it or not. So I just wanted to just say how this organization has been life-changing for me, and it is much needed to Abilene and surrounding cities near and far.
Awesome. Now, Michelle, you give a little bit of a fresh perspective, because you can offer coming in as a newbie, actually going through the program. Can you share a little bit of your story, just of how that has transpired and how that's impacted you?
Yes. My story began as a child. My innocence was violated. And the tricky part about this situation is I didn't acknowledge that or even realize that until far into my adulthood, that this had occurred in my life. But as I looked back on the choices that I made throughout my life coming up, it all started to make sense. Again, like I say, my innocence was violated by someone close to me. And as a child, you don't know sometimes, or you have the fear sometimes, or even the fact that you just suppress those things sometimes. And in my situation, that is exactly what happened. Those memories were suppressed. And it took for me to attend a counseling session. And there were some questions asked into my adulthood about some things in my life. And it was exposed to me that they saw that something deep down I was not revealing or speaking on. And I was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. There's nothing that happened to me. I remembered everything very clearly. And after that, I actually stopped going to the counseling because a fear struck within me. And as I really began to harp on the conversations that took place in my counseling, I realized my innocence was violated as a child. And in that moment, I didn't know what to do with those feelings. I didn't know what to do with those emotions. I didn't really know how to process it. And I got to a point in my life where I cried out to God and I said, you know, I'm at a place in my life where I'm at the end of myself. I need to be around uplifting, encouraging women, spiritual women, women who I can grow with and learn from. And it was crazy because someone started to tell me about Emerald of the Sea and a course that they had available, which at the time was Eliza Woman That Believe, but now it is formerly known as the Journey to Freedom. And in that course, what I learned is a lot of lies that I believed growing up, even far into my adulthood. And then I learned to replace those lies with the truth. This was a book study that was amazing. And not only was it just the truth, but it also helped me in turn learn the truth in God's word, opposed to all of those lies that I believed. And in that class and in those sessions, I began to understand and see how a lot of the choices that I made, what they were related to, and how my innocence being violated as a child fully affected me. And I knew at that point, I needed to go further in this healing journey. And that's when I chose to join our next course, which is the program that Miss Esmeralda just spoke on, which is our Emerald Journey. This class is amazing. I will not say it was easy for me in the beginning, because in the beginning, when you are opening yourself up to something, any type of trauma, and when you begin the healing journey, when those scabs are being removed off of those wounds so that I can fully heal, it didn't feel good, but it was much needed. I was able to delve into the behaviors that I was exhibiting growing up as a young lady, graduating from high school, well into my beginning of my adulthood. And then I also began to see some of the things that were occurring in my marriage, the way that I was reacting and responding, the way that I was choosing to parent, all because of the suppressed feelings that I didn't choose to deal with. So in this journey, to shatter the silence, that was the process of me beginning to come to grips and owning the fact that this occurred in my life. But it's time to shatter the silence and break those walls of the secrets and the feelings that have been suppressed within me for so long. And the first step was owning it and understanding that I am a survivor of my innocence being violated as a child. And in that journey, I began to learn how to deal with emotions, recognize those emotions, call them out for what they are. I began to understand my triggers and where those triggers came from. Many times we go through life and we do things and say things and respond to things in a certain way. And we say, well, that's just who I am. Not all the time. sometimes you respond, act, talk, say, and do things as a result of something that may have happened to you, something you may have been exposed to, or even sometimes upbringings. Well, in my case, mine was because of my innocence as a child. I grew up not trusting a whole lot. I grew up not believing some things that I was told and not even understanding why. I grew up angry as a teenager. I had all these materialistic things in my life, and my family did as much as they could and, did a great job, raising me. I'm sorry, I felt like it was a little gnat or something. But my family did an amazing job raising me. But as a result, I couldn't truly find happiness, and I didn't understand why. Well, all of those things started to click and make sense to me. All of the behaviors as we were reading and learning these things about ourselves in this class started to make sense. It was like a light bulb that went off. But again, it didn't feel good. But you know what I did have with me? I had a group of amazing, supportive sisters who we were on this healing journey together, who we would uplift and encourage and pray for one another during this entire time of this class. Sometimes as we were coming to class, it was like, oh, I don't want to go deal with this. But each time we went in, we felt heavy, but we came out feeling lighter each time, because all those layers and all those lies and all those things that we held on to for so long were being removed little by little. And I can say, looking back on when I first started my healing journey, it's funny sometimes, because I was just saying, sometimes I don't recognize the woman in the mirror, but it's not because the woman in the mirror is not a beautiful expression of who I am. It's the fact that I am no longer the woman that I used to be. I no longer see that sadness in my eyes as I would look in the mirror. I don't look at myself and see those insecurities and judge myself off of who I think I should be according to what the world says I should be, but learning to love this woman within, because I'm growing through that process of healing. Those layers are being stripped and removed off of me, and it's being replaced with the truth and the word of God of who he has called me to be. I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and God has a purpose in my pain. You see, the pain kept me in bondage my entire life. But see, my purpose is found in that pain, because now I have the opportunity to share with other women and other men who may have gone through something similar or what I went through exactly. And I'm able to share my story, that the fact that you can and you will make it through this. But it first starts with a choice. You have to choose to begin your healing journey. See, for so long I was stuck because I didn't even understand that I was in bondage. But when that light bulb flickered on and I realized this is what happened to me, no longer did I want to walk in those same shoes of that woman that I used to be. You see, I was used to that woman of the insecurities and the fearfulness and the not having boundaries. Boundaries was a big thing in my journey. I had to set up boundaries with people in my family that it hurt in the beginning, but it was not to it was to keep me safe, but in a safe place mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. I had to set up those boundaries because I have them now. I don't just accept anything that comes across in my life anymore, because I understand who I am and whose I am, and the fact that I have a purpose and he has a plan for me. I don't walk around with those same insecurities. So this class was, I can't say it enough in regards to how life-changing it was, because I got to think through those thoughts, think through those emotions and feelings, and also feel through them. You see, I didn't used to feel. I would detach myself from feelings and emotions, and I didn't understand why. So easily I can up and walk away from a relationship, a friendship. It didn't matter what it was, because I detached from those emotions. You see, when the pain of the past has overcome you and you walk around holding on to all of that for so long, it's called my safe place. So in order to stay safe, I keep you at a distance. See, but when I set up boundaries now and I keep you at a distance, it's a healthy distance. It's no longer out of fear. It's no longer out of feeling abandoned. It's no longer out of feeling rejected. It's no longer feeling shame. And see, those were the shoes that I walked in for so long until I realized what I was feeling and why I was feeling it and what it took to begin to remove those layers of those lies. And you see, that's what Emerald of the Sea has become for me. I love the fact that I am able to be put in a position to help other women and other men know that they can make it, and they have an organization that is here to support them and help them through their healing journey. So that's just a small tidbit of what Emerald of the Sea has been for me and what my journey looks like. My marriage has made a huge transformation because I chose to first change some of my ways that I began to acknowledge that I was choosing to make. Because once I understood the mindset of it, I was able to replace it with the truth over the lies, the triggers. I'm able to communicate those things to my husband in a way where he understands this is a trigger because of my past. I'm no longer stuck in bondage in my past, but these triggers are still there. And the only way to continue to help me in my healing journey along with our marriage as well is for you to understand this is what triggers me in this way and why. See, because of my healing journey, I recognize what those triggers are. See, at first it was just, this is who I am. This is how I act. This is how I speak. You're going to accept me or not. Well, that wasn't who I really was. So even in my parenting, I'm learning as well, communicating with my children in a way and not just being this busy mom all the time who has to get everything right and do everything. There's more tied to being a parent than just crossing off the check marks to parenting. No, there's a huge connection that has to take place. And as a child, with my connection being displaced because of a choice someone else made, I had to relearn those things in myself, because one thing you can never ignore is whenever that trauma or that situation took place in your life, you have to go back and love on that person. See, mine was a 7-year-old little girl. See, I had to love on her. I had to embrace her because for so long she was shunned and pushed down within me. And that was part of my healing process and my healing journey, where I had to feel through those things. It didn't feel good at the time, but it was required as a part of my healing journey to get to the place of where I am today. See, I am now beginning to thrive in my healing journey. If Esme would have asked me a year ago to share any of this, she know I would have froze completely. So when you step into your healing journey, first of all, don't judge your journey. Don't compare it to other people's healing journey, because your journey is for you. You are the individual in that. Those sisters are your support system. Those people are your supporters to encourage you and uplift you on those good and bad days. But it's never a comparison, because everybody's story is different. Everybody's trauma, it may relate to one another, but it affects us in different ways. Some of the behaviors are similar, but as an individual, you interpret things sometimes in a different way, and it affects someone differently than it may have you. So when you begin that journey, don't look at where you are, because that's just a part of it. There are going to be many steps that you will take as you continue to climb that ladder of healing. It's not an overnight process. It's not a 1-year process. This is a lifelong journey. And just understand it's okay, because you have people in your corner who love you. And that's what matters. And you have a Heavenly Father who loves you. And there's purpose in your pain, no matter what has happened to you. There is a purpose and plan in store for you. So I hope that was a place of somebody understanding you are not alone. Your story is your story. Never feel like you can't share your story. That is what it's meant for, to help someone else in their healing journey to understand they can overcome those challenges just like you did. I was told to not share my story, but I can't do that because of who I am and where I am. A year ago, that scared young lady probably wouldn't have wanted to tell a soul. But see, I know who I am and whose I am. And that's what matters. So is there anything else that you, anything else, Chris?
I guess your Cash App for the offering, since you up here preaching and stuff. Let them know to drop the offering off it. But first of all, thank you so much. Even listening to you, so many young ladies popping in my head. And, you know, one of the things that really popped out to me, both personally and dealing with other people that are suffering, is the repression. Is that pushing that back because I don't want to go back to that place. And often, like you said, that little 8, 9, 6, 7 year old child never gets loved on and never gets to develop. And going back to that is a terrifying thing. And that's one of the things I love about what you just shared with Emerald of the Sea, is it doesn't have to be a journey that you go alone in. You know, there are parts that only you can take and steps that only you can make, absolutely. But it's just encouraging to hear that there's something out there, because there's so many people, and I don't know if you felt the same experience, but even though you know other people go through it, there's a time and a place in your head you feel like you're the only one that's ever experienced this. And you can't see anything else. So to hear somebody else be as brave as you, and I don't even know you as well as Esmeralda, but I know a year ago you wouldn't have been on here. So I got my pom-poms out all the way. So thank you so much for sharing that. That is extremely powerful, and so many people need to hear that aspect of a journey, not an overnight, not a couple sessions or a time limit, but understanding this is a continuous thing. Because once we heal, we want to focus on continuing that process. And that's what you just spoke to. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your insight. Esmeralda, I want to hear about kind of the startup. Give me the journey of Emerald of the Sea, from where you started. I'm gonna put you on blast. Go on, share with people that might be starting with that frustration and maybe not getting the support that they feel like they should be getting. Maybe having that image in their head and it really not coming out quite like you might have painted it or pictured it. But share your story to starting Emerald of the Sea and coming to the point where you are now, and then give a little vision of what you would like to see in the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just like some point last year where I was texting you and I was like frustrated and crying and saying like, oh my gosh, this is so hard that you have this vision in your mind and having all these roadblocks and feeling like you're so far away. So it's just crazy since then to have had your support. But for me, growing up, I'm not originally from Abilene. I have a few years living here. I was actually raised in Louisiana and been able to minister and be a part of different ministries in different places. And everywhere I've gone, does not matter where I am, who I'm talking to, what age group, what race, has always been a common story, a common secret being shared, and that is sexual trauma. Since I was a young girl, I would have people that would confide in me, telling me, like, my friends from school, my friends from church, people just anywhere would tell me what they had experienced. And I started to notice and realize that was kind of like my calling, was to be a safe place and a safe space for people who have gone through sexual trauma, and be able to provide that for anyone who would ever approach me in the future. So I always had that passion and that compassion to help people who have gone through this traumatic experience. As I got older, I was able to go to a missions trip to Las Vegas to learn more about like sex trafficking. And I started to learn that there's a big connection between sexual abuse and sex trafficking. 90% of sexually exploited women have gone through sexual abuse before the age of 18 and didn't get the help and opportunity to heal. And so that's a big deal, how connected that is. And so my passion continued to grow, and I was able to work at a residential treatment center for abused and neglected youth. And being there and hearing the stories and mentoring these girls, I was able to identify another common problem. And it was the fact that these girls and these boys would not be in the home, having to be in CPS custody if they had safe homes. And it was almost like I would see that there was a big connection. A lot of the moms had gone through abuse. A lot of the moms were in prostitution. Dads were abusive. And it just started to stir in my heart. Like we need to do everything we can for our generation. Like the amazing work that you're doing, Chris, with From Boys to Gentlemen and other amazing organizations. But we have to heal the root. And the root comes from home and the parents. And I started to notice that bleeding mothers give birth to dead daughters. Yes. And healthy mothers give birth to healthy daughters. And that is one of our models with Emerald of the Sea. It's, whatever we don't deal with, we will cope in unsafe, unhealthy ways, and it will affect and infect the people around us, our loved ones, our kids, our marriages, our neighbors, our churches, our communities. It will affect everybody around us. And that's why I would see these kids in this home suffering and depressed and feeling abandoned and coping in very unhealthy ways and feeling hopeless. Like, I'm just going to end up like my mom. I'm just going to end up like my dad in prison. I'm just going to end up like my mom on drugs. And it's, if parents could experience that hope and that healing and that true freedom, then they would be able to create a safe space for their kids to not only survive, but to thrive in life as well. Yes. And so that has been the heart behind what we do, is really being able to bring hope and healing and freedom found in Jesus and connect that to our community and connect that to believers, to people of the faith, because unfortunately, a lot of faith communities, a lot of churches have dropped the ball in this area and have wanted to slap a Band-Aid on things that require surgery. And so, yeah, sometimes a prayer is not going to take the pain away that, 12 years of suppressing this traumatic experience. Prayer is powerful, don't get me wrong, but there's so much unlearning of lies and relearning of God's truth that I believe that God wants to take us on a journey. And sometimes some faith-based communities have not been able to create that safe space to have the journey, to have the mess ups, to have the doubts, to get angry, to question God, and to not be judged while understanding and going through the journey with God. And so for me, Emerald of the Sea, my heart was I wanted to bring people who did not know God and want to experience him in a way that probably they've never have, in such a personal, intimate, deep way. And then I also wanted to provide a place for people who probably do know God, but they weren't able to experience healing because of the community that they were in. And sometimes there's more damage and more hurt than the healing in the community that they're placed in. So I really see us as a bridge, being able to connect the two, where we do need God, we do need Jesus, we do need his hope and his healing and his freedom, but he also has blessed us with the opportunity to have resources and tools and organizations like your organization, like counseling, and some people might need meds and might need other resources, and it's not like you need to choose one or the other, but I feel like God is so big and he's not threatened to provide blessings that complement the journey. And so all of this is just, I really want to be able to bring the hope and healing and freedom found in Jesus to every person that we meet. That's why our name, Emerald of the Sea, is actually from our motto, in a sea of billions, you're the one emerald that God sees. We get that from in the New
Say that again. Wait, hold on. All right. Say that again, please.
Sorry, it's my nerves. I talk a lot.
No, that's good. Say that again.
So in a sea of billions, you are the one emerald God sees.
Ooh, yes. You felt it too, Michelle?
Yes. Yes. He sees me. He loves me. Yes.
That hit me in my chest. Oh, I like that. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It got excited.
You're right.
Go ahead.
I love it. So, like statistically, 1 in 5 girls are sexually abused before the age of 18. And 1 in 6 boys are sexually abused before the age of 18. And I feel like that's where we get that one. In the sea of billions, you're that one emerald God sees. In the New Testament, it talks about a story of a lady who she had been bleeding for 12 years. And because she was bleeding, she could not be in contact with anybody, or they would be considered infected as well. And whenever you had that issue, that condition, you were isolated from the community, you were isolated from everybody. Nobody was able to touch you, nobody was able to hang around with you at that time. And so for her to have experienced that isolation, that depression, to feel like she was identified by her condition, and her basically her trauma and her drama was her identity. And having to have that over her life for 12 years and not have any type of intimacy, nobody was having sex with her, nobody was hitting her up, there was nothing there was no connection that she had, no intimacy, that she was so desperate. The Bible talks about how she would spend all her money on doctors, spend all her money trying to figure out what can cure this trauma, this issue of blood. And it wasn't until she had heard of how good of miracles and testimonies that this guy Jesus was having in the town. So she didn't even know this for sure, the way like we know and we freely talk about God and Jesus. And she was just so desperate that she wanted to see, this might just be my last hope, you know? And so the Bible talks about how there's like tons of people like crowding Jesus. They're begging him for a miracle in their own lives. And in this situation, she is desperate enough to like push through people and like just touch him. And instantly, the Bible says that instantly her faith had healed her. And that's where we talk about like God, no matter how many people are pressing and how many people are crying and have all these prayers that we're asking God for, he truly cares for every single one of us so much, with so much attention and so much care. And we might have lived a life where we feel like we've been overlooked. We might feel like we've been the last choice. We may have been abandoned, may have been rejected, where we just feel like that's our identity. And that's all we will ever be known as: the drug addict, the girl who slept with everybody, the guy who doesn't have any parents, like the kid in foster care. And what's amazing is that the healing, when the Bible says that she was instantly healed, that was just one part. Like, God doesn't want us just to fix us. He doesn't want us so he can heal us. He wants us because he truly loves us. Because the next verse, it talks about how he said, daughter, your faith has healed you. So now this girl that nobody was in contact with, that everyone felt like if they were to touch her, they would end up being messed up too. This perfect God who had every reason why to not be in connection with her chose to call her daughter. So he chose an intimate, genuine relationship with someone who was considered unworthy and so dirty and condemned, that there was no hope, was hopeless. And so there's so many people, women, men, and kids, that have a secret that's bleeding inside of their hearts. They have a memory that's bleeding and just playing and playing over and over again. And I really do believe, personally, I have seen how God has been a big part of my healing journey and has healed me from my bleeding wounds. And if that has happened to me, I know that he can do that to anyone else. And Michelle's an example, and the 19 other ladies are examples of that, of God being able to meet you where you're at. He's not there to change you. He's not there to judge you. He's not there to tell you on September 15th you did this and that, you can't talk to me until you do this or you change this. He just truly sees you, and he knows you, and he wants you, and he just wants to be with you. And the side effect to that is that we get healing, that we get joy, we get peace through the process and through the journey of healing. And so it really is the heart that drives what we do. And I hope that answers your question.
So both of y'all trying to get an offering, I see. Out here preaching on things. Talk to me a little bit about where you would like to see Emerald to see moving forward. I'm ecstatic about the organization, the opportunity that y'all even allowed me to come out and speak and be a part of, and to witness some of the things that y'all are doing in the community is so needed. But I really want to know, what are your goals? What are some of the future plans? I know COVID has interrupted some stuff, but as far as over the next year or so, what are some of the things Emerald of the Sea is trying to get accomplished?
Yes. So one of the things that we do is an annual conference, and that is where Chris was able to speak last year, and it was amazing. We are planning our next conference, and it had to be rescheduled because of COVID, and we're going to be releasing those dates pretty soon, within a month or so. And so we're literally looking forward to that. And we would love for anybody who's not only in Abilene, there's people who are willing to travel to come be part of this one-day event, to hear special speakers talk about sexual trauma and the healing journey, as well as local community leaders. And there will be booths and resources, and being able to meet some of the ladies in our program, as well as advocates. So that's a huge, one of our biggest events that we do. And aside from our 3-year recovery program, we have an introductory course called, Michelle called it Journey to Freedom. We are going to, we're trying to restructure that right now. We're in a season of restructuring and training our leaders to be able to offer more. And with that restructuring, it's going to help us reduce the waiting list for people not only in Abilene, but anywhere that will be able to access it quicker. So what that program and that course offers, it's basically like, right now it's 12 sessions, unlearning lies that we have believed and relearning biblical truths and bringing awareness to sexual trauma. So aside from that, we are really looking forward to being able to provide other programs that are targeting to youth and also men. And because this is so important and special, even though there's such a need for it, we're just taking our time to be able to provide the best and to be able to partner and work with awesome organizations like yours to be able to provide the best services that we can. So yes, I do see us being able to target younger girls. Pretty much, we focus a lot on the recovery, but we also want to prevent, because if we can prevent, we don't have to recover from a lot of these things. So we do want to strengthen our preventative program and be able to reach people who are at risk, girls and teens that are at risk from being sex trafficked.
Yes.
And so
Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all's time so much coming to share. For this last part, y'all ladies, just let me do me. A lot of times we are good with the worship as far as mouth, and we talk. They gave no, they didn't ask me to do this at all. This is something that I'm doing. Please support, not just with sharing videos, not just with sharing content, but I'm asking, share with donations, financial donations, because these organizations do not run off of hopes and dreams. We're definitely going to get you all the information to be able to make donations if you want to be a monthly contributor, one-time donation, whatever the case may be. But we really need to support the people that are out here doing the work. These people have families. These people are out here servicing. Even if they're not servicing your baby directly, they may have somebody that's in contact with your child that will be able to spare your child from experiencing the same thing, or give them hope in that situation that they might not have had that resource not been there. So again, speaking for myself, I absolutely would have loved if it was something like Emerald of the Sea that I was knowledgeable about when I went through my issues and situations, because I didn't handle it healthily. But to see this option be out here, and for our young ladies to need this so desperately, it's something that we really need to support, not just with kind words, but definitely financially. And so I will say that for y'all. Y'all don't have to say it for yourself. That's something that I believe in, and I will do that by starting the process. Definitely, I am making $100 donation to Emerald of the Sea because I absolutely believe in what you do. I love in what y'all do, and I will continue to promote y'all. But I don't want to just say that with my mouth. I want to show that with my actions. So thank you so much for everyone that you're blessing. Thank you for your own personal journeys that y'all shared, and hopefully y'all just stay encouraged. The work is absolutely needed. I'm already seeing some of the fruit from the things that y'all are doing, people that I'm running into. I think people think I'm actually in Emerald of the Sea after the little conference. They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, wait, I love them. But don't have me misrepresenting. Definitely, we partners, but I don't want to speak on anything that y'all are doing. But I absolutely love the vision. I love the execution of what y'all done until this point, and I love the vision of where you're going in the future. So I am a huge fan. But like I said, I'm starting it off. Let me know where to send that donation, because I love what y'all do, and there's so many babies and women that could benefit, like you said, not just from the direct impact, but that impact that that person is going to have on their environment. So that's the whole focus of ministry to do just that, to get somebody that makes that impact and makes it long lasting. So thank y'all so much again. I appreciate everything that y'all do. I'm glad that y'all were my first guest, but y'all won't be, this won't be your only time on. I'll definitely be bringing y'all back if y'all allow me to, and talk on some other topics. And Esmeralda, I'm going to give you a pass this time. I thought about it, but I was going to surprise. For y'all that don't know, Esmeralda can blow, meaning she got them pipes. That girl can sing. Not just sing, but sing.
Oh my God.
We're definitely going to get some of those vocal blessings, but I'm going to let you prepare. I'm not going to put you on the spot this time, but I'm just saying, this is your introduction. We coming back with that. But ladies, thank y'all so much. Y'all have an amazing day. And this is Emerald of the Sea, y'all. Please support, and we'll get that information, and it'll be in the link below for you to be able to contact them, whether you want to get connected, involved, or support. So I love y'all, ladies. Continue to do what you do, and I appreciate your time. And this is Emerald of the Sea, and this is our closing for my journey to healing from sexual assault. Thank y'all so much. I have a great day.
Thank you.